Robert, it's your fourth session. I just find you to be a very interesting man. Fascinating. You're a big guy. You're a strong guy. You've done very unusual things in your life. And you've tried to lead an honorable life, even though you've done, like most of us, wrong things. You've learned from your mistakes. And I see you as a man willing to take responsibilities for your life. But you've also said that your life has turned to shit. So let's go from there and see what you're talking about.
Well, thanks, Doctor. Yes, I could say that, as we talked before, I really appreciate, joining and becoming a patient with you. At the time, it was really a reach out for help. I was at a low point that I've never been in my life. So it's been really an honor and pleasure of being a patient and being able to open my eyes. And a lot of the teachings that you have really mean a lot to me. It was a lot of part of my growing up and how my grandfather used to teach me about honor. So it really resonated with me. It's just, I'm used to having an up and down life, but a pretty successful life. And just up until a few years ago, it was pretty much handling my problems myself, taking accountability, moving on, and not really letting it bother me. Just move through it and be successful and being able to be on my feet. And this last couple of years, it just really seems like nothing was being right. Everything decision I was making, it was just getting worse and worse and like digging a hole like quicksand. And I can get into more details than that. And it just feel like my relationship with my wife just turned to shit. My children's been on and off and just financially has really turned to shit and lost a lot of things. And, it lost a lot of friends. Not that I did anything wrong. I just isolated myself, really just kind of just withdrawn from everything that I liked and just became a shell of the person I was. And just depression set in and just, the jobs market. I used to be an executive in top firms making a lot of money. And then I just pieced myself. Then I ended up working for a company that was just really a horrible company that belittled you every day. And I didn't have a day off in a year and a half and just getting yelled at and told, nothing but negative stuff every day. And finally, I couldn't take it anymore.
Well, Robert, that's a lot. I hear a lot of loss. I hear loss. You have issues with your wife. I know you're divorced. We can get into that. Issues with the children. I know you've suffered tremendous business losses. So your situation's been loss upon loss. And one of the themes I try to develop for you is, what's the best true story you can tell yourself about this? One of the early losses you had, you told me, was the passing of your grandfather. Tell me what effect that had, what it meant to you, how he passed, and what have been the long-term consequences of that.
Well, my grandfather it was part of my everyday life. And up at that point, I was very active in baseball and true passion. I thought that was my passion in life. I really thought that was my passion in life. But the first thing when he passed away, I realized it wasn't my passion. I realized I was playing for him. And anybody that wants to be a professional at that level, it's really got to be your passion. And that really wasn't my passion. I thought it was, but when he passed away, it wasn't. Of course, at that time, I thought maybe it's just the bereavement or whatnot, but it wasn't. There was a lot. That was a really hard transitional period for me. And my family was really not supportive. They did a lot of shady things and cut me out of the will and did a lot of bad things. And I just was in no position to fight, which that wasn't the most important thing to me at the time.
Well, being cut out of the will, it sounds like serious betrayal that went on. I think many people have had issues around the wills where one sibling or somebody in the family usurps the position and takes the money rightfully due to somebody else. Tell me about the injustice you suffered and exactly what happened to you and the family and how much money was taken from you when this happened, how much of a financial loss it was.
My grandfather was a patriarch of a pretty large family from Texas, South Texas, that owned thousands and thousands of acres with natural gas and oil. And he had a lot of businesses, laundromats and everything. He's worth millions. And I was that's what the problem was. And I'm not saying it's right now. I can understand why maybe the family was upset, but I was kind of his favorite. And maybe he wasn't the best father to his kids. So he's really making it up with me. And at the time, I don't realize that, but he was really pouring everything into me. And I think that caused a lot of jealousy. At that time, I didn't understand that. Now, as I grow older, I maybe understand that. So one of the questions I would say, hey, I'd love to have a conversation with him if he was alive today. But that spurred a lot of resentment from my aunts and uncles and my father. Maybe one of the reasons my father hated me, I don't know. That spurred probably that. But I mean, even my aunts and uncles in Texas, it spurred hard things because they had some animosity with my dad and my aunts, but they pretty much, and my grandmother pretty much conspired, and they used the new will was miraculously disappeared. My mother was paid off miraculously some money. And it was like that will never existed. And they reverted to a will before I was even born with my uncle Robert, who I was named after, that killed himself. They used that will, so everything went to my father and my aunt. And then my uncle was the executor on that will. So it was hard because my mom was a witness to the new will, and she pretty much said, I don't remember anything about it. So it was pretty detrimental. I mean, I was always taught, my grandfather said, he taught me business from a very young age, even when he stuck me on a little produce stand he made for me when I was like 12, that, you can either own businesses or work for somebody. If you want to own business, you can make money. So, control your destiny. So he taught me the value of work. So I just said, well, whatever, I just didn't let it stop me at the time. But it was considerably, millions of dollars. And still to this day, I mean, my cousins and everything ride around in helicopters and, stuff like that. So,
Robert, that's not uncommon. Not uncommon. I mean, usually less money involved. Today, he'd probably be a billionaire. But that's not an uncommon situation. He worked hard. He made a lot of money. But, if your family doesn't have honor, that money will destroy the family, destroy them. Money is only really helpful if you have an honorable family. Otherwise, you can see what happens to celebrities, drugs, sex with outside their marriages, one divorce after the other. So money it's almost like a punishment for being dishonorable. And in the hands of an honorable person, they're going to use that money not only for themselves, but the family and for society. That's in the hands of an honorable person. But and that's part of my job in life is to, one, become honorable myself and written the honor teachings, and I have a whole program that you're a part of to bring honor to the world. And people are very receptive to it. And the teachings they're all things you already knew, but people know. I don't tell people anything they don't already know. Just I shine a spotlight on it. And I see you very committed to that way. And as for your mother, I mean, what happened with your grandfather and the destruction of the will, I've seen that personally in my own life, so I know that stuff goes on. You told me some things about your mother. So you grew up a lot with Mom?
When I wasn't with my grandfather, I was with my mom. Because my dad was absentee dad. He hated me. It was horrible. In the times I was with him, he was horrible and drunk and he was mad. So very little time with him. But I would, spend time with my mom, too, when I wasn't with my grandfather. I mean, she had custody, basically. And she did the best she could, but it wasn't really a healthy home environment for most of the time. She parties, she was a hippie. There's a lot of drugs, a lot of sex, a lot of hippie people. And she had to do what she had to do. And, a lot of times I'd have to, when I was very small, go to hotels and be in the closet while she would entertain gentlemen. So, and then other times it was just at the house. And then later, when I was a little older, and 14 or so, she let me, kind of go out with some of her older friends. And I don't know if she conspired or whatnot, but they would take advantage of it, and stuff like that. So at an early age, I was introduced to sex and some of that stuff. Of course, a young, changing hormonal teenager is going to be thinking that's great, attractive older woman. But as later, I think it had some effect on how a lot of my relationships in my life. and some of the other choices that I've made that, could have changed and made life easier if I didn't have that kind of accelerated time, and sex. So,
of course, to our 14-year-old, that would be I think now it's called molestation, but that was called a good time. I mean, it's sort of a 14-year-old's dream for something like that. Not that it's good for them, but so I hear you, and having it had an effect on you, and that what specifically, how did that affect your in the future years in terms of your relation with women?
It took me a long time to try to understand that because a lot of times I blocked it out. And I think the trust factor of trusting myself or trusting in a relationship, if it's real, or doubting, is it really a real relationship? Or what's the picture of an honorable relationship, or how to conduct yourself in a relationship? Or if this is the right way to do things, organically growing a relationship, not concentrate on the sexual part of the relationship. It just kind of mixed things up, and made it more difficult to understanding what the relationship really is, or a true relationship. Some relationships I've had are better, but also just it made it very easily for me to have multiple relationships. The temptation was always there because I was very easily to have friends and of women and being tempted all the time just because it was, an advantage of me being able to talk and understand women and what they like. It was just more difficult to stay honorable in relationships. Not making excuses, but it was just more challenging.
Well, I could see that you're able to step back and look at your life objectively, take responsibility. As rough as it is in so many ways, I don't see a lot of blaming. I just see you accepting that this is the life I had, this was the hand I was dealt. And as you're talking, I don't see resentment. I don't see rage against anybody. And yet from an outside perspective, somebody could say, well, Robert was a victim. He was a victim of his family, of his grandfather. His mother exposed him to things. I mean, she was a prostitute. I guess she had to make some money, so she would have sex with these gentlemen. You'd be in the closet. So a lot of people would say, I am who I am today. I'm a failure. I never achieved anything because of this background. But that's not you. You went on to become actually a very successful businessman. You had a multi-million-dollar business. Talk about how that evolved for you.
Well, that goes back to I've been always competitive in sports, and I have to give credit to my grandfather again, some of his principles he brought me. But then even my father would always give me that great pep talk about you'll never amount to nothing, you're a loser, you'll never travel. Because I always had dreams of traveling the world, and I'd share that with everybody in the family. I'm going to travel the world. I'm going to have businesses. And he'd always say, you're never going to own anything. You never have a business. So, that quest to prove wrong, I was blessed to have not just one successful multi-million-dollar business. I've created two in my lifetime so far, multi-million-dollar businesses. The first one, unfortunately, it was really fantastic and it's something I really enjoyed. But unfortunately, some things happened where my first wife was able to take it, and she was blessed and rightfully so in the divorce, and was able to sell it, and her life was blessed for the rest of her life, up to this point. Me, not so much on that, but it's okay. I took full responsibility on that. The second one was my new wife with mother of my two beautiful sons. We helped create it was more of a janitorial security building maintenance company, and that grew and it was very successful. Went from 20 employees to almost 600 in 4 years, 2 states, very high profile Ritz-Carltons and Hyatt's, Marriott's and stuff. Did a lot of different things. Very, very nice. It was very stressful. But it was able to sell it because it got to be too stressed. and just some of my other investments in land and real estate and option stocks and some other things, weren't the best because things crashed. And that was some other things that happened. But the actual business part, and we lived a really good life. We were able to travel the world. I was able to take my kids to Thailand, to Asia, to Europe, to, all over the place, and got them really good in with my wife. So many family opportunities. So there's many memories that were created that can never be taken away. So I have to even give my dad some credit there with that drive, with doing that. So
I really admire you, Robert. I see you, you're a generous man. You're a generous man. You're happy to give credit to your grandfather, even to your father, who talked about hating you. You're generous, and that's rare. Most people are not generous. And the fact that you had 2 successful businesses. I know you told me with your ex, your first wife, you cheated on her. You were having affairs all over the world. And so that's why I think you felt okay about her getting all the wealth because of what you did. So I think that shows, although you did wrong in your life, but you knew wrong from right. You have a conscience, and you tried to do the honorable thing given what you had done. And it was unfortunate that you made certain decisions, but then you grew up around promiscuous situations. I'm not saying it excuses it, but you grew up with that. And with all the setbacks and a father who told you you're a loser, you never amount to anything, and have 2 successful multi-million-dollar businesses where you're able to set up one woman for the rest of her life with much wealth, and then creating the second business with top accounts, Ritz-Carlton. Those are really swanky hotels. I've been in most of those hotels myself. I like a nice hotel. So, and I will say this about you. I'm going to tell you something, Robert. You emanate success. There's something about you. I've seen this before, not often, but you emanate a man can do big. You're a big guy, and you emanate that you could do big things. That's what I see in you. You're a big man physically, and I see you being able to do big things. And I see you as having a big heart. And that's beautiful, beautiful. And somehow you ended up wanting to live an honorable life. I know you've told me from childhood on that you wanted to be that knight in shining armor, saving the damsel in distress. And it's depressing too when you don't have a quest, but you want to basically the quest of serving with honor. I see that quest. Tell me about that yearning in that quest to serve with honor, and your protective nature, your desire to help those in need. That's beautiful, beautiful.
That's just been always my deep passion is, some people say, that's been part of my issue too, is I don't think of myself. If I have that $1, I'll give it away, even if I needed it to eat because I didn't eat for 2 days. It's just something I've always done. Sometimes it's probably not been too smart because I could have made that $1 and been smarter and made $3 and then fed more people. But, I get a really good sense of a feeling of accomplishment when others in need are fulfilled. Not people that really can help themselves, but people that truly need help. I mean, even in high school, my friends and I, we would protect the ones that would get picked on. And we were jocks and nobody messed with us, but we'd always sit next to the people that maybe had disabilities and stuff that usually people would pick on. We would sit and we'd let nobody pick on them, just because it was not right. So it's just something that's always been with me, and it's been a passion of mine. And not saying, like I said, I'm not holier than thou, because I do make mistakes. I do have weaknesses. I do fall into these traps of thinking it's like everything's innocent, and then next thing I know, it's overboard. And it is not a friendship. It's more than a friendship, and maybe that shouldn't have been a friendship. I mean, and with especially with women, and I'm working on it, and that's the good thing with my separation from my wife of 25 plus years, the mother of my two boys, it wasn't the same reason as the first. It was more from financial decisions and rushed decisions about the relocating back here and not consoling her with some of the decisions I made that caused that separation. So it wasn't so much the promiscuity and the sexual betrayal.
Robert, you are the man. I mean, I hear you talk. I love it that you've protected the weak. You and your friends. We need more. The strong protecting the weak. So often in our society, the strong exploit the weak.
That infuriates me.
The strong exploit the weak. So you did the weak. That is very moving. Very rare. I know very few people who are like that. As a matter of fact, when I was in high school, I don't know anybody that did that. So when you say we were big guys, we were the jocks, nobody would mess with us, and you use that power to help other people, it's almost like chivalry values of a bygone age, the days of chivalry, the round table. It takes me back to those kinds of images, those fables, allegories. And so I admire you. I admire you man to man. In fact, I'm the doctor, you're the patient, but we're also two men. I admire you man to man. Yeah, I have a feeling you make a loyal friend as well. I see that in you. When you talked about having your two sons, I could see the feeling there. And I know there are issues. Talk to me about the marriage, what caused it. I mean, I understand the finances came in. To go into more, what's happening with you and your sons and your wife. I understand you're separated, but tell me more about that.
I'm a man it's pretty consistent in my message. And for the last probably 9 years, I've been pretty much consistent. When my youngest son, Matthew, graduates from high school, I want to come back to California. My daughter's here from a different arrangement. Wasn't married. It was one of my mom's friends. It's a whole other story. A beautiful story, actually, but a different story. And I didn't get a lot of chance to be raised with her and whatnot, but she got married and I wanted to be close to her because they were going to try to have children, which Michelle, I'd rather use her name. Anyways, Michelle was understanding and was wanting it. And I told her, though, that I always had a dream of just buying a place in Mexico, living on the beach, and we've traveled to Mexico many times and I love Mexico. My mission work that I do is in Tijuana, serving the less fortunate, educating the children of the ladies that work in the clubs and nights, and thinking that way, getting them there where they can teach them other skills to try to get them out of that lifestyle. That's a whole different story that I'm really passionate about because of some of the things in my life as well. But I was pretty consistent with that message that as soon as my youngest son graduates, we have our house up there, let the boys stay if they want, or we can rent it, and then we move out here and get a place on the beach and pretty much live, which Michelle knew about it. Consistent for 8-9 years. Talking about it. And then when the time came, I pretty much made the move. I came out, took a vice president job out here, left a COO job, which was even a better job in Arizona, but took a job that was similar wage and less money, but similar vice president job over here, which she was agreed to follow in a month or two. And then, unfortunately, I lost that job, not due to my own ability. It's just, again, it was an honorable situation that I kind of took the loss instead of a person that worked with the company for 10 years. The company lost their contracts. One of the CEO, not on their own merit. It's just the company came in and said, look, you guys two have monopoly. All the Northern California business is going to a different company. That happens in the contract maintenance sometimes. And the vice president was in charge of that area, was a really good guy, worked for that company for many years. And it wasn't his fault. So looking around, I'm like, he should lose his job because of that. So I just got here. I'm more of a, I just got here. So it's easier for me to lose that, and a couple of us, no, it's just me. Quite a few people had to lose their job naturally for this company to stay viable. So I immediately lost it, but I, was pretty confident that I would get another job. But it is, again, in California, wife back still in Arizona, wanted to come out. Well, I didn't get another job. I tried. There's just not another executive 6-figure job. It just applying, it just wasn't happening. That's when it's starting to turn to shit. My confidence was there. So I was still spending like I was making it. I was going out and having fun, doing things. I got a place in Mexico. I just was following that path, thinking that I was going to find something. And for a good year, not really, almost 8 months, not working, but spending. And like I was making that, it put some hardship on it where I finally had to rush and get a job, but making significantly less at a retirement community, which I liked the job, but it was not even close to what financially I needed. And she was pretty much like, no, I'm not going to be going down there. You did that, got that property and everything without me. And so it kind of just put a wedge in between. And, we have a good relationship. We're talking, but she's pretty adamant and felt betrayed. And, it's where we're at. It's just kind of turned to shit a little bit, So, and then I took another job, like we talked about before, that security company, thinking grand opportunity to make more money. It sounded great in the beginning, and then it was turned into an even worse nightmare. Now with my program that I'm working with you and the thing I'm doing with now, she sees hope. I talk to her after every session. I talk to her after every Tuesday. She likes, and she's engaged. She likes hearing what I'm learning. She correlates that it's bringing me back to some of the things that she liked, that thing about, night. She gets it because she knows me since junior high. She was one of my sister's friends, so she has a long history. I don't have to, she knows me and she knows how I am. So she really likes this connection. She's really happy about coming today. She, wants to see obviously results. So we'll see, we'll see how that goes.
Let me say what a privilege it is to be a witness to your life and to be a guide in your life. I want to know more about the mission work you're doing. I know you have a passion for it, working with the underprivileged in Mexico. And then also I want to know what it is you're feeling. It took me 50 years to develop the honor teachings and the honor program that I've developed. And I tell people I've been doing this over 50 years, and I'm 84 years old, and I like to tell my people I finally have a good idea what I'm doing. So we're getting me at a good point in my life. I know I can really help lift you up. I know that. I know your heart. You're a gentleman. As I say, you're a generous man, and you're a gentleman. And I can do a lot with a man like you. And I can feel that when I speak, that I can put a light in your heart. I feel like I just keep lighting you up inside. That's my feeling I get of what I can do for you. Because I feel that connection. I can tell when it's happening because I feel that respect and admiration of you, and I like you personally. So when I have that, I know I can reach in and bring out the best in you. Tell me whether that's happening or not, truthfully.
Well, it's kind of a two-part question. I'll talk about the mission work, and then we'll go into our relationships is just really beginning. It's the first time I get to face-to-face meet with you. So, and relationships to me are always face-to-face. I mean, video's great, but true relationships, almost that handshake, that body connection. But we'll talk about the mission work first. I've been very blessed, again, to take some of the things that have been hardship. As you know, we talked earlier that even from the childhood introduction to some of those things to even my grandfather's success in Mexico, businesses all over. And through that connection, I had a job from 16 to 18 where I was a bouncer in some of the brothels in Mexico and Tijuana, where, I had interesting experiences, making a lot of money, a lot of interaction with the girls. treated them with respect and honor. I was really doing my best to make sure they were safe. Really had a good time. I'm not going to deny it was probably the best job I ever had, in that realm. But not from an honorable standpoint. But I made it honorable because I made them safe and made sure nobody messed with them, even taking them home, and just made sure that they were safe. And made a lot of close friends that I felt were friends. But I saw a lot of tragedy too, and a lot of drug use. And me, myself, I've never done drugs. I've never even smoked pot. So I've drank a lot. I like tequila and stuff, but I've never done those things. It's just something my grandfather instilled in me. No judgment with people that do, but I've seen a lot of damage that causes, especially in that realm, a lot of sorrow, a lot of things. So that kind of resonated with me. And so I always wanted to do something with that. And I've been blessed to have some good people come in my life. And my wife really, again, resonated with some of her personal things that's happened in her life, some tragedies and things that really resonated with her. So it was a joint good feeling. So it was like a lot of support for my wife, where money was not a problem to put towards things. We went to a missionary in Thailand was one of the first things. And we were blessed enough to buy land for this mission that was over there, had a smaller land that educates and brings like babies out of the prison system when they're born to raise them. And orphanage also brings young women out of the streets and then teaches them business and either sends them to schools and grants and, teaches them like so they can open their businesses or whatnot. Really successful program to bring women out of the prostitution ring in Asia. And I'm still good friends with the missionary. Unfortunately, I don't give so much to them right now because I'm really dedicated to the one in Tijuana now, but they'll always be grateful. We have a little family thing there. We always welcome to that property. I was very blessed to give to that. That's a wonderful story because I was like doing everything I could not to give the money. But I said, okay, exactly how much you have? I only have a certain amount in the savings. And I said, how much do you need? And this was like, God, I don't have a lot. I'm just losing money right now. And he asked me for the exact dime that I had in the bank. So, to the penny. So I gave it to him, so for them to buy the land. That's a different story, but that's a really good one. I don't tell many people that because, again, that's something that you don't want to brag and tell people, but that was obviously something that had to go and do. But the mission in Mexico that I'm very active on is called Mexico Red. And that's I go down there and of course they just have me stand and they feed people. Of course, the homeless, the less fortunate down there, right in the Zona Norte. It's the drug, prostitution, the worst of the worst area. And then they bring them in, but where they feed them, they bring them in and then they give them a sermon about God and, give them hope. And then they'll give them haircuts or feed them or give them little things to just try to help. And then, of course, they opened a school to keep the children off the streets to, the prostitution women. And then they invite the women over to, are they in nutrition and to teach them cooking, to show them there's other ways and programs and safe havens and homes and, to see if they're choosing to be in that ring or if they're slavery to that ring, and different options and then teaching them business skills and putting them up. So it's a real big passion for me. And then our relationship, back to that question, is, I'm so fascinated by the things that I've been reading and you were asking to do. And it falls so in line with me is I like that. And just some of the things that you've done all over the board and I like the nutrition aspect. It aligns something that I liked to do when I was younger. I wanted to be a homeopathic healer, one of the first things, but I'm like, I like money too. So at that time, there was no money in it, and I wanted to be a chiropractor at the time, but at that time there was no, so, I went on to other things. But I'm still into a lot of that other stuff. So I think that the universe has a way of bringing people together. God has a way of bringing people together. So obviously there's a reason for me being vulnerable and broken down. And then again, I'll put a praise out to my friend so much that says, you have to call this person. Don't call anybody else. You have to call this person. I know you, Robert. This is the only person that's going to help you. So obviously that told me, and I value this person immensely. She's worked with me before. She knows me. She says she loves me. She said, I've seen you as a great man. I've seen you at your best, and I don't like seeing you where you're at. And this person's going to help you. So that meant a lot. And that's where I see when you're just mentioning those things to me, in this next quest, I don't want to do the same type of business. I don't want to do that anymore. I never liked that kind of stuff. So I want to do something more, something that's not negative all the time.
Sure, Robert. I had a very successful photography business. I had 100 employees. I was all over the state of California. I was the biggest in-home baby portrait company in California. I was bought out by the biggest company in the United States. I hated the business. I made a lot of money. I hated it. I had my own collection agency, my own finance company, my own lab. I bought my building. I had photographers, salesmen, telemarketers, and I hated it. And not because there was anything wrong with the product. It just wasn't meaningful enough. What I do now, I make a fraction of what I was making then. I would do this for free if I could afford to. I love meeting guys like this. To me, to meet you and see what I see in you is more beautiful than watching a beautiful sunrise or sunset. I mean, I'm enamored with the nobility that I see in you and in others. So I used to get migraine headaches from that. So when I was offered money, I said, I want to get out of this. I was 47 at the time. I said, I want to be out of this by the time I'm 50. So they bought my business a good amount of money, made some serious money with it. And I stayed around for a while because they wanted me. That was part of the contract. I would stay for a while, helped them with it. Then after doing it for a while, I said, I can't take this. But don't do it. So they bought out my contract, discounted it, and they bought me out and did very well with it. But what I didn't. I was lying to say, I don't want to. This is me. I make a distinction. A job is something you do from 9 to 5 to pay your bills. A career is a job you like. A calling is a career you do for free if you could afford to. And a destiny is a calling you pay to do if you could afford to. I would pay to meet guys like you if I could afford to. At least do it for free if I could afford to. So, Robert, I don't have a work-life balance. I really don't. It's all life to me. There's no separation between work and life. Like to my patient, you can text me anytime, 3 in 1, Saturday, Sunday, Christmas. I'm with my wife on weekends, wherever I'm getting texts, I respond. But it's not like, work is taking up my time. No. This is my life. This is all integrated into my family life. You're part of my extended family. And that's honestly how I look at it. You look at me as a doctor, you're the patient, I'm a doctor. I understand that. That's what brought us together. But to me, you're one of my people. So I look at you through that lens in addition. And that's what I would want for you. I want you to have something that's serving your calling or destiny. Listen, money matters. It matters. I make really good money when I do. Really good money. But I don't make that business, which I hated the business. Best thing that came out of that business, I met my wife. That was the best thing I made. I made a ton of money. Meeting my wife was even greater. So that's what I want for you. Something, money matters. And what you did with money, see, that's the right thing to do. You shared, you gave that money to buy that land, that commission in Thailand. That to me is being honorable with money. So money won't destroy you. It can destroy others, but it won't destroy a man like you. It won't destroy me. It possibly could when I was younger, but now it wouldn't destroy me at all. So you making money, that's good. For a while, I wanted to be a multi-billionaire because I wanted to finance the economy movement throughout the world. I had patents and different things going on. Didn't happen. And my wife said, just focus on your business here. So she got involved, took care of the business end of my practice. I made more money I could have imagined that somebody could make it as a psychologist. I was shocked. Now, I want to know what it is that you love so much that you would do for free or pay to do it. And let's see if we can find a way where this money, in addition to just giving away to charity, that's not a way. That's something you're not going to get rich on, but something that could, where you're helping people, you're serving. So yes, I think they're being worthy, deeply, profoundly. I'd like to hear about that.
That's the million dollar question, and for so long I was always thinking of everybody but me. That's what I'm trying to discover. And we talked about I love serving others. And how can I do that? It's easy to say, well, I love mission work. Well, yeah, but you don't make money doing mission work. I love, helping people heal, like this transformation I've done. I've lost 130 pounds over this metabolic journey, and combination of, the clinics, diet, right type of vitamins, minerals, health, activities, weightlifting. I'd like to do something into that effect. I know I'm not going to be a chiropractor, and I'm not going to be going unrealistically. I'm not going to school for 7-8 years. I'm just not going to do that. But there's other maybe things in the healing. I would love to look at something that's not psychology, but something that's almost like a life coach, but in a fitness, I can't do physical therapy because that's even like a doctor now too, but there's got to be some other. My sister does a lot of facials and massages and healing, and she makes good money in a little spa, but there's different things that maybe I could do that can help, like get my, herbalist license, my homeopathic license, and some other different things that I can do to help people, nutritional counseling and life coaching, balance, and some healing, alternative medicine type practice, even if I have to do the practice in Mexico, in a clinic where people can come and mind, body, and soul, come and also where it doesn't cost a fortune, from product, and it can be all online too, but maybe doing something like that. I've been thinking about that lately because I know quite a bit about natural herbs, and that falls into my first business where I went to Mexico and had farmers grow herbs and vegetables and baby vegetables. And when they were growing big vegetable, I taught them how to grow baby vegetables. And when they're doing this, I said, you can do 9 different herbs and make twice as much money as doing 100 hectare of tomatoes, do 2 hectares of herbs and you'll make more money and all that. And, they trusted me, and they were like, whoa, so I could probably do the same thing in teaching them how to do that. And I know how to source spices from all over the world to, do different product lines. So I know these things, and maybe I can create something. And with today's marketing, but the main purpose is to develop a product line that you can make money, but not rip people off, and maybe then have a healing center. And then videos, and then again, the honor movement, maybe developing something that's part of the whole program, and teaching that in this part of their healing is that honor movement and part of that healing. And you have a lot of videos in those things that heal people. So it's not like reinventing the wheel. Maybe there's something in there that can intertwine. I don't know. This is just randomly thinking right now, so.
A big part of helping people with health is increasing the motivation to be healthy and to have a long life. I did one research project with 240 participants, my patients. And we found that as people come to perceive their purpose in life is to live with honor, it makes them want to live a healthy life, a long life, a meaningful and productive life. So we want to increase the life force itself to live long. Because if you say to most people, do you want to live a healthy life? Or do you want to get sick? Oh, I want to be healthy. But then look what they eat at a restaurant. Look what they put in their shopping carts in the store. Don't look what they say. Look at what they're doing. And it's like a death wish. They're just killing us. And they know it's bad for them. So you got to increase the life force. So as you see in every session, we always say to somebody, what's the purpose of your life? It always comes down to, within the program we have here, honor is part of it. Honor. It could be honor in family, honor happiness in family, honor health, happiness in family. But always honor is key in it, to live a life of honor. And I tell my patients, I'm interested in you now as a man of 50 years old. But more than that, I'm interested in you as a man of 95. So I look at the arch of your whole life in this process, the whole life. And at the end of your life, I'd want you to be able to say, Dr. Nerenberg, I've lived a life of honor and I have no regrets. That's the real goal of what I do. It's not just to help you over whatever symptoms you're going through now. So I know you're certainly welcome. I gave you a copy of the book, The Teachings of Honor.
reading everything online. So
Yeah, you have the book, you can have the digital form.
I like it better.
And certainly using the videos that we have, about 986 broadcast quality videos. And whatever I can do to help you with this, I'll take you under my wing. And as I said to you, even when you're not a patient anymore, I mean, this is a lifelong journey for me with you. I'll never abandon you. You might abandon me, but I won't abandon you. So if I can be there for you when you're not a patient, you can text me, still come to my classes I give every Tuesday night. I tell this to all my patients. So I'm committed to your journey, and I like what you're saying. And there's a big need, and I know you've benefited from that kind of facility in Mexico. I mean, the stem cell work that you got and the plasma work that you've done, and you're looking good. You lost over 100 pounds. I mean, you've walked the walk. See, I've walked the walk. When I tell people, recite the 4 commands 1 or 3 times a day, use the bridge 3 times a day, watch my videos, come to the classes, do your deep breathing, work out. I mean, I do it myself. So you've walked the walk. And you look the part. That's key. And I believe there's no doubt in my mind, you just generate, you emanate. I want you to really hear this. You emanate success. You emanate that. You have a vitality. You have a passion that just even when you speak. That attracts investors. That attracts investors. I don't think it's going to be a problem for you. There's a lot of money. There's trillions of dollars sitting around here and in Mexico, money waiting for the right situation. So with the right business plan, and either here or in Mexico, maybe close to the border, so that's easy for the Americans to come there. I mean, Mexico is a lot easier, less regulated, and certainly being a life coach or an executive coach or an honor coach. An honor coach which incorporates everything, health, mentally, spiritually, physically, an honor coach. And I tell people I don't teach anything new. This is just to help bring out the honor that's already within you to rise in the conscious in terms of words, thoughts, and action. But you emanate success, and something about you, truly, where somebody will trust you. You know, you're a man that somebody talks to you for a little while, so I trust this man. Rightly or wrongly, I'll be honest with you. He's a man I trust. In addition to which, I'll tell you something else. If I was in the trenches in a war, you'd be the guy I want next to me. So you bring out that feeling. I mean, doctor, patient, but then I'm talking man to man. You're the guy I want in the trench next to me. And I think that's the feeling. I don't think I'm unique. I think people would have that feeling towards you. So you have all the ingredients to go the next step. And I know you're willing to do this. As you know, you've got to eat, breathe, sleep the business for at least a year. I mean, you can't delegate it. You've got to be in the trenches yourself. And I know that you're willing to do that. You have the energy to do it. You have the motivation to do it. But this time, look, I made great money in that other business, but I didn't feel there was any lasting value to it. Now what I'm doing, I feel is eternal value. What you're learning about honor is something that will help you in this life and shape your soul's progression in the next life. I love it. That kind of impact in the honor movement. And it's not any particular religious calling. For people who believe in God, they have the commandment of honor. God, you wish them only wish. And if they don't believe in God, they say, I seek always to serve my highest values. They go, I wish you well. I take full responsibility for co-creating my reality and my problems. I'm grateful for the power I gain from worship. 8 seconds to recite that. Life-changing. Life-changing. And then we have the bridge. What's the most honorable thing to think, say, and do? So in my program that you're in, Robert, we're not looking for happiness. No, we're not looking for peace. We're looking for honor. And honor is the foundation of true happiness and peace. You can't have true happiness without honor. You can have some fun, but this will give you, this is the foundation for true happiness. And you can't have peace of mind if you're not honorable. You got to always look over your shoulder. So we got away from the paradigm of peace, fun, happiness, honor. It's a total paradigm shift. And all you got to do is say the 4 commands of honor 3 times a day with the bridge. With the bridge. Now, those who want to go to a more advanced level, the supremacy of honor code. Honor before pride, honor before anger, honor before sex, honor before money, honor before fear, honor before everything, honor before life itself. That's the priority system. Now we've got 25 laws of honor, we've got the 25 demands of honor, but this is enough to do the job. The 4 commands of honor, the bridge, that'll do the job. And the rest takes you through more refined levels. And I want to see you go to the greatest heights. We need a knight in shining armor. We need somebody to rise up. In a world where everybody's out for themselves and exploiting, we need somebody like you. We need that. Remember, I used to watch The Lone Ranger when I was a kid. He would just go town to town saving people. I don't know how he made a living, but the guy was always looking to help somebody out, put his whole life at stake. We wanted a guy like that. Clint Eastwood, kind of a selfish guy, self-centered, but he'd go shoot up the bad guys and save. Even though he didn't want to because he was selfish himself, he would stand up for the underdog. We all wanted that guy who'll say, I'm gonna stand up for the right, for the just, for the good, at all costs. And I think a lot of guys who go into the military have that kind of ambition. So we need you. We need you. The honor movement's a good venue for you to manifest the whole thing. Well, tell me your thoughts and feelings as I say this to you.
Well, that's one thing. We can revert back a little bit when I really enjoyed hearing you said about the commitment to me. Because when I make a commitment to somebody, it's internal. It's internally, and I don't back down from that. And I will make that commitment because it's, I don't see this type of movement that resonates in my heart often. So it'll be lasting until obviously one of us perish. But and then still the movement goes on. So that part is not a no abandonment. That might be, maybe it doesn't talk as much somewhere down the road because of life, but it should be continuous. That's the kind of commitment I have as well. I don't think I've ever abandoned anyone, and I think all my friends would say that. Now, even when I withdrew, when I contacted all of them, they all knew and accepted. It wasn't like they ever felt abandoned. They just said, well, we know you're going through stuff, but you were always there for us, Robert. Every one of them was like, you've always been there for us, Robert. We just gave you your space because you're so unlike you. We just didn't know what was going on.
Well, we're talking about eternal bond. When I leave here, I'll still do what I can for you. I'll still do what I can for you. You won't be able to hear my voice in this way, but I'll tell you one thing. When I leave here, and I'm planning to stay until I'm 120, but man plans and God laughs, so we'll see what's in God's hands. But I'll do everything I can from the other side. And I'll tell you another thing. When I do leave this world, you'll feel my reality more than you do even now. Everything I'm saying to you now will hit you even more when I leave. It'll become more alive within you. So I'm glad that we have this eternal bond. So you could call it therapy. It's called psychotherapy. But to me, it's way beyond the usual model. To me, we're talking about eternal bonds, eternal relationships, based on eternal principles. It is consistent with whatever religion you are. Christian, Jewish, Baha'i, Muslim, Buddhist, Zoroastrian, Hindu, doesn't matter. It's consistent with every religion. So we're on this journey, and we need men and women who are willing to dream big. Somebody could say, well, Dr. what does this have to do with psychotherapy? It has everything to do with psychotherapy. Because as a person goes beyond themselves and serves, they go beyond their own limitations. Let me tell you something. Every trauma that's happened to you, every darkness, every betrayal, makes you more suited for the destiny that you're going to serve. Because without that suffering, how could you have compassion for other people? It's impossible. How could you achieve wisdom without that? So I know that you are given enough lessons in life. You will achieve greater and greater wisdom You're capable of great compassion, and you're willing to share your struggle. See, most people hide it, and you can't really know a person. You can't know another man if you don't know his struggles. Whatever you achieve, if it was all handed to you on a silver platter, that's no big deal. But we know you came up from nothing, all these betrayals and losses, and then you will rise up to serve this way. You go, wow, what a magnificent being. Magnificent. I would say my greatest achievement as a man is to see the greatness in others. When I was younger, I didn't want to see it because it would diminish me. If I saw your greatness, I would feel lessened by it because I'm competing with you. Probably the greatest lesson when I got my own pride, my own egotism, was to see the greatness of another being. And I see the greatness in you. And I revel in your greatness. I admire you and I respect you. And that's beautiful. You don't represent a threat to me. Your greatness does not diminish me. It enthuses me. It makes me more energized. I wasn't always like that.
Well, it gets back to the relationships. I mean, I've always been where there's always a mentor type of relationship, and that's something in this venture, the honor relationship, is a mentor to the relationship. I mean, you've done it more and falls in line. That's a good feeling. That's how I'm feeling it. In the afterlife, I believe in that. And again, as I'm still working through a lot of these issues, I'm still dealing with that I'm taking the trash and throwing it away, taking the mess and cleaning it up, and these are things I've had the privilege of hearing a lot of these great things, and it's hard because I don't really look at myself, so I've heard it most of my life. I know I've been gifted and great. I could still outplay people half my age in basketball. I mean, God given me great athletic ability. I can do things still at my age that younger people can't. But it's just, again, I have a hard time. I hear it, and it's just, okay, but this is the first time in my life. Like before, I wouldn't think about it. I would just do it. But now it's like maybe overthinking and doubting. And
your life is experienced as failures. My life is experienced as failures. We fail, but we don't quit. Well, none of us experience the greatness of ourselves. I could see it in you. You probably could see it in me, but you cannot see it in you. I can't see it in me. And the truth of the matter is, I tell people this. I say that people admire me. I hear a lot of positive feedback as you're hearing from me. And I say to people, you know what? I'm really not a good guy. I say I align myself with the Word of God, with the Holy Spirit, and all the good that comes is from that. And so if you say anything positive about me, I go, well, it's not me. It's really not me. It's that I've aligned myself with the promptings of the Holy Spirit. And that's not modesty. I'm not being humble. Not at all. I'm just being honest. So when you tell me you can't really feel it, I understand that. I don't expect you to feel it. I don't expect you to even know it. I expect you to believe that I see it. That's all I expect. That Dr. Nerenberg sees it.
Because I've done it.
Yeah. Dr. Nerenberg sees this in me. I don't see it. And I accept that. You could look at me and say, wow, Dr. Nerenberg's done so much. He's an amazing guy. I believe that you mean that. I don't feel it. I don't feel it. So I'm saying this to you for a good reason. The reason is I want to normalize your experience. The fact that you can't take it in, of course not. I mean, you wake up in the morning, you burp, you go take a bowel movement, you urinate, you just try to get yourself together, maybe have some coffee. And that's what you experience yourself as, this guy just kind of waking up and putting his clothes on and get ready to deal with the world. You don't feel anything great. Same for me, same with all of us. That's the universal experience. When I was younger, I didn't know what it was to be human. I believed all the false images. Nah. Even the false image, everybody looking very together and denying that there's anything wrong. Give me a break. You know what people don't realize? I was born in 1941. You want me to tell you about the 50s, something you don't know? In the 50s in America, Nobody, I mean, nobody had any problems. No one. You know how crazy that was? Do you know how absolutely insane it was? No one in this country had a problem. Everybody was happy. I mean, it was nuts. What happened in the 60s, the hippies, I was a hippie in the 60s, we burst out of our shells. We said, oh, no, we can't take it anymore. I'm struggling. And do you know the greatest luxury in America today is it's okay to have a problem? Yeah, Dr. Phil, these different celebrities, all these self-help books didn't exist when I was a kid. Because why? Because everybody was happy. Nobody had any problem whatsoever. People being molested, raped, beaten up behind closed doors and go out in public and everything's fine. So, wow, what progress we've made. People don't know the progress we've made. When I was a kid, if you weren't a white Christian male, you were an outsider to the country. Now it belongs to all of us. What a progress we've made. Unbelievable. White people belong here, black, Latino, Native American, we all belong here. People think we've gone downhill. Oh, no. We've come a long way. So, you're on the right path. And I rejoice in your suffering. It's making you stronger. If we didn't suffer, if we didn't see that we weren't enough, we would start thinking that we're God. See, I'm convinced I'm not God because too many crazy things. I get down. If my wife I'm a very happy guy, but if my wife gets upset with me for more than a day, I'm not a happy guy. So that shows me I'm not God. I'm not even a guru. I'm not even enlightened because that's my Achilles heel. So we can't get too blown up because if we're honest, we see life brings us to our knees. What a beautiful situation to keep perspective. Tell me your thoughts about what I'm saying to you, Robert.
In my personal perspective right now, it's a journey, and I'm enjoying this moment because it's bringing out a lot of the feelings and stuff that, coming from where life was just failure is not an option. Even if you fail, okay, you move on and fix, and what you can't fix, you learn and move and try not to reoccur it, and just keep going. Where this time it really sunk in and just where everything I didn't know what to do. It's the feeling of being in this movement. It's not getting where feeling like a failure. It's feeling like it's just being readjusting and finally being able to say enough is enough, and now is the time to try to really look at reaching my full potential of what I really can offer the world. Now I don't have the answer all yet, but I know, and I've shared enough a little bit tonight with some passions. And you've expressed some things of helping and guiding, and maybe this connection today will even enhance that some more. I think the honor movement is going to play a role in this, significant role, I think, as we continue to talk on that, because I don't know where it's going to go, but I think it's given me a feeling, a sense of wanting to pursue something and start looking into what that means to me. I don't look at now my current situation of, man, I really messed up and I don't think I can do anything, or don't want to get out of bed today. I think now there's certain things I still have to deal with, and financially I got to deal with certain things. But now maybe I need to put a little more emphasis to get that done and out of the way so I can now focus on some of this other stuff, continue with my health, and this time that I'm off, and healing, I would say, and learning some of these things, that I better take advantage of that to maybe really soul search myself and focus more discipline, and utilizing this to take that poor me mentality, like, and don't waste that time, that moments. And when you see that, to really take a pause, maybe even recite some more of the honor codes and look at that and force myself on what the priorities are to start checking off that box.
One of the things I say, it's a derivative of one of the commands of honor. I say, God, I'm extremely grateful for the gift of trials and tribulations that brought me closer to you. Without suffering, we don't turn to God. ego is so strong. My ego is so strong. Your ego, our egos are so strong that we will just go on our ego. But we hit situations where we're kind of out of control. We're not able to really navigate it into the way we want. We know we have to depend on something. We still rise up. But I want you to have a different look at all the things you've suffered. I want you to rejoice in it, knowing that it's a foundation, it's a springboard, a motivating force, a humbling force from which greatness and true nobility can arise. Greatness and true nobility will arise out of the ashes of all this. So I want you to be happy about that you've suffered. I've got so many things that I've done wrong. It's like my father said to me, son, I have a lot of good advice to give you, not because I've been so smart, because I've been so stupid. And like I always say, fail, 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 but never quit. The road to success is paved with failure. I've had failures marriage-wise, business-wise, medically, legally, so many things. And each one took me to where I am now, which I'm very happy about. So I want you to rejoice in what suffering is given to you. Not that you're happy that you suffered, but happy about the great foundation it's given you. The reason I can talk deeply to you is because you're willing to open up and share with me your struggles and your failure. Otherwise, I can't relate to you. You just come in here, ha, ha, boom, boom. I said, well, I'm happy for you, but I wouldn't feel much of a connection. I look at you and I say, there's a man like me. He's not that different than me. And you look at me and you say, well, he's not that different than me. So we can talk, we can communicate, because you know I've shared them in my videos. I've talked very openly. I don't mess around with it. I've talked about so many of them. Talked about my failures, my felony. I've talked about so many things. And I tell people I wouldn't be half the man I am today if it wasn't a felon who repented. So I've done plenty wrong. In fact, when people tell me, they've done this stupid and that stupid, I say, look, I'm older than you and I've done more stupid things than you could dream of doing. But it took me here and I'm grateful because I repented and I rose up. So this is how I want you to look at what took you to this point. I have a beautiful marriage. Once in a while, it becomes difficult, but beautiful marriage. We're going on 35 years. But I was married 3 times before. 3 times. The first time was 90% my fault. Didn't work out. The next time was 60%. The next time it was 10%. So I got better. And now, if anything happened, would be maybe 0, because I really found the love of my life, my true wife. Wonderful, amazing human being. We disagree on politics, everything political, and we're still, I say, you know what, sweetheart, I love you. I respect that you can say that. I like you to challenge me. I love you. Of course, when I can say whatever, she thinks I'm an idiot. But I said, that's all right, sweetheart. Just don't keep it respectful. I respect you, Don. And I'm glad to know where you're coming from, because a lot of people, I'm sure, think the way you do. And I don't have a problem with that. It's America. My wife's not from this country. I'm from America. It's good. So, and we have a beautiful marriage. Incredible in every way. And she said, I wish I knew you before you were married to your exes. I said, no. I wasn't the right guy. I had to go through that to become the man I am today for you. That's right. So I'd be the right man. You would have always been the right woman, but I wasn't the right man until I went through that. So that's how I want you to see. So whatever failures you've had, I went bankrupt about 25 years ago. I had a business, a photography business, made a lot of money. But after about 5 years after I sold it, the IRS came after me and said, well, you owe $700,000 from this order. They said, all your photographers, They said we're independent contractors. We think they were employees. All their back taxes, they wanted me to pay that. Anyhow, went through quite a process. They settled for an offer and compromise $100,000. Cost me $100,000 from my lawyers and accountants. Then the state wanted 10% of the original amount, so that would be $70,000. But with penalties and interest, it came to $140,000. I didn't have it. I said, well, I sent them a check for $20,000 as an offer and compromise, the same equivalent what IRS took. They deposited, sent me a check back, $20,000. We don't take offers and compromise. So I bankrupted out of it. So I went through the bankruptcy, and it was a shame because $50,000 in credit card debt went out. They forced me into it. But I've been through the wars. I've been through the finance wars. I mean, I've been through bankruptcy. But I came back up strong. I came up strong. So I had more than a Harvard education in business. I'm an expert on what an independent in fact, I had the best attorney in California, Bruce Hockman. So when it came time to present my case for independent contractors, I presented to the IRS. And he said, I give you an A+. And he was a son of a gun, but he was very competent. He said, I give you an A+. And that's how I got that settlement, because I made a good case for that they were really independent contractors. That I wasn't just making it up. So I've been through the wars on business. I've been through the wars. I've had people rip me off in business, stealing from me in business. I remember one time this one guy was stealing from us, but it was hard to get salesmen. So I told my manager, okay, tell him I don't know about it. But say, if he ever finds out that you're doing this, he's gonna press criminal charges against you. Don't do it again. But I told him, don't tell him I know. So he told him that. The guy straightened out. We made money. I had to keep thieves around because it was hard to get salesmen. So I had to even keep thieves around me. But I made money on a sinking ship. The business was always sinking. But while it was sinking, I made a lot of money. A business that I hated, but it was always sinking. So I've been in the trenches on these things. I've been in the trenches in business, marriage, legal, criminal, everything. Everything. I've been in the trenches. I had so many failures as a power lifter, embarrassing failures, but I became a world champion power lifter. When I was 65, I took the title strongest drug-free man in the world for my age and weight. And that's when I had prostate cancer. I beat the cancer, moved on from there. I'm telling you these things because, in fact, when the doctor said, you tested positive, you have prostate cancer, my face went numb, and I said, Doc, that's great. He says, what? I said, that's great. It's going to make me stronger physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Because I was already geared for doing that as a person pursuing the way of honor. Walked outside, the trees, the birds, everything was more beautiful. I could see it for the first time and felt love for everybody around me. I knew they looked at me as a stranger. I looked at them as family. It was beautiful. The whole experience was beautiful. People say, how come you're so relaxed? I said, well, God, you want to take me? I want to go. If you want me to stay in Serbia, I want to stay in Serbia. If you have no preference, Lord, I prefer to stay in Serbia. Well, the cancer hadn't spread, hadn't metastasized, and here I am. But I'm telling you these things because I want you to see what a failure I've been. But yet, by every conventional standard, I'm an extremely successful man. But I want to emphasize what a failure I've been. And I like the man I am now. Tell me your thoughts about what I'm saying to you. Be honest with me.
To be honest, honestly, also there's hope. I generally like who I am. I don't really have any dislike towards me. Of course, I would be lying if I said, "Oh man, I wish I could have changed this." That's any human. I mean, we're human. But generally, I look in the mirror and I like who I am. Honestly, I'm not saying that conceitedly or not. And I don't have any resentment towards anybody. I can honestly, truly say that. I mean, anytime I get those feelings, like even to my mom or my dad, I just read the book of Job. Then I feel ashamed to even have any of those feelings, so it pretty much flushes it down the toilet. I feel pretty open, and I feel like every trial has been for a purpose of strength. I mean, I've always grew up that way. That I fought hard, and I did anything harder, from training to baseball taught me. I mean, I had to work hard at everything. I mean, yes, I had gifts, but I worked. I didn't goof around. I mean, hours and hours. Even when I play basketball, hours and hours and hours of shooting. And I mean, that's just how you get better. So, I feel, like I said, hope when I hear these things. And, I've been helping so many people for so long too, that, it's just getting me out of that. Like, is this finally, that was, it was like, is this finally no more for me? That was the mentality of why I dived down. Like, before I was never that way. I was like, oh, it's fine. Something better will come. Or this time it kind of just really sunk, where I said, maybe I can't give anymore. Well, now with hearing this and seeing what you're saying, there's a lot more I can still give. And even now, I still looking at what I've been dealing with, I've been still giving a lot. Not even seeing, even me not doing, just even some of the little things I've been doing, I've been still giving a lot to some people.
Well, believe it or not, you've given me a lot. To see a man like you, to feel that bond and that connection. You traveled for hours to get here. Not an easy trip. It's very hot outside. So you're giving even when maybe you don't even know you're giving, because you're giving me a lot. And I think that this movie that we're doing together, I think it's going to help a lot of people. It's going to help a lot of people. See, giving, even in doing this, I mean, you were willing to show your vulnerability, your struggles, setbacks, things that people would want to hide. And you're just opening it. I actually, before we shot, I said, "Do you want us to blur your face so we have more anonymity?" He said, "No. You're giving it there. Because you're not ashamed of what you've been through. You're not ashamed of who you are. You don't need to hide your identity. Bravo, bravo. I would be the same way as you. If you were my psychologist and you offered me this opportunity, I'd say the same thing." And this movie we're doing together, this is part of your legacy of honor. You can share this with your sons, your grandchildren, other people that you want to help. I'll share it with certain patients. This might even reach the public in some way. So you're giving to the world and doing this. You didn't have to come up here. You didn't have to do this. This is a big effort. 2 hours this way, 2 hours that way. You didn't have to do this. Not at all. You're giving again. You just can't even help yourself. You're just doing these things. And I'm grateful.
I'm truly grateful as well. And I've told you several times, and even the first time I've talked to you, that it's been a truly life changing and life, thank you, like a life raft from a person that never thought they'd need a life raft. And I'm not, so arrogant to say that I didn't need a life raft. Somebody that never thought they would ever need one. So I could say that I don't ever want to have to be in a lower position than I was. But I can say that without that, I probably can't be who I need to be to reach my whole potential, to reach people that maybe need that as I move forward.
The bottom line is this: if you hadn't been taken down to your knees in life, you never would have met me. You never would have been exposed to these teachings. And I know that meeting me, and not in an egotistical way, but meeting me and what I represent is life-changing for you. I know that. And it wouldn't happen if you weren't deeply, deeply suffering. So call it accident, call it fate, call it God's guidance, whatever you want to call it. It wouldn't happen without you suffering and being really down. You're a man that wants to give but doesn't want to have to say, "I need help." You're that kind of guy. But here you are saying, "I need some help." Thank you for coming in. Thank you for being my patient. And I'm grateful to know you. I said before, I'm grateful to know you. I'm grateful to be trusted by you. And I'm grateful that you allow me to be not only a witness, but a guide in your life.